Australia's hidden recession. Let's have a look. Good morning everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. Got my morning stein of coffee and I thought we would have a look at this article which is talking about former Treasurer Peter Costello discussing Australia's hidden recession, which I don't think would surprise anyone. We're getting a lot of mixed messages from the media with regards to consumer spending, confidence, and some industries in a lot of trouble. So it's a bit all over the place. So has Australia had a hidden recession? Peter Costello thinks so. So if we have a look here, one of the longest serving, if not the longest serving treasurer in Australia. Australia has been without a recession for 28 years. The longest run in international recorded history. Would it be a golden age? Do you think it's been a golden age for Australia? It certainly does not feel like a golden age. It feels like a bubble. But according to Australia's longest serving federal treasurer, Peter Costello, Australia's economic record isn't as flawless as it appears once you peek under the lid. Speaking at the Yahoo Finance inaugural All-Market Summit in Sydney on Thursday, Costello said Australia's economic growth has been supported by high immigration figures. One of the significant drivers of growth in the Australian economy has been population. Oh yes, Costello said, noting that Australia has the highest population growth outside of Saudi Arabia in G20 countries. Highest population growth. Well, and it's not to do with birthing, is it? Or natural population growth. So these are abnormal times. Twitter post, the stock market is burning on emergency interest rates, former Treasurer of Australia. Well, yeah, we do have emergency interest rates. They are utterly insane. Now, his mention of per capita immigration fueling this. I did a video asking the question, is Australia in a depression? And I was looking at using the Keynesian term, or Keynes's definition of what a depression is. We can see here, this is just a clip from it. The black line is the trend, per capita GDP change, the trend from 73. And you can see here, since the GFC, we've only been above the trend for 3 measurement points. Everything else, we've got a few on the trend, but most of it has been underneath. So we are pulling the overall trend down. So we've been below trend. The Australian growth, the growth of the Australian economy has been depressed since the GFC. And this is on a per capita basis. If you look at it overall without per capita, it's not as marked, but it still has been depressed. Here it's 10%. Oh, the size of the economy is 10% smaller, and I will link to that video above, or may already have. But it's just something to another perspective, because we're just hearing the media and the current political rulers, they have they have to push for positivity because psychologically that can make a big difference. And some of the housing, I'll do a video later today about household spending intentions, which is sending mixed messages to what you're getting. And I think it comes down to your sample size. If you talk to a whole lot of people, like on this channel, you've got people who are preparing for the future, you've got a lot of tradies, and you've got people who are saying how long it takes to get paid. There's some insane comments there of time periods. And I think that might give people a different perspective. I think just running a small business gives people a different perspective. So, I need a shot of coffee. Let's jump back to this. But that growth has masked Australia's underlying economic performance. If you convert all of our statistics, even GDP, to per capita, you will find we probably have had recessions. Well, yep, we have. Well, we'll just jump back here to this chart, and you can see here. Oh, we're not below trend. We were just underneath there, Depends on the definition of it. So just recently, our growth has been negative. So it's close. It depends on the sector you look at too. But because we have a growing population, the overall economy has been growing. I query whether we can continue that. Well, no, we can't. The problem is when you are growing your population by bringing in adults who are migrating at such large numbers, it puts a burden on your infrastructure. It puts a burden on your infrastructure. Our, let's say, potable water storage in dams has not kept up with our population growth. So now we're becoming more dependent on desalination. And there's inherent costs and risks associated with that, which is something that, water's free from the sky most of the time. Why are we paying for it? Sure, you got to build the dams and the infrastructure, but that's long-term infrastructure that can really provide for an economy, a civilization for a long time. So, noting the ASX recently hit highs not seen since 2007, Costello warned that this performance cannot continue, describing the Australian economy as in the midst of abnormal times. Well, yes, I'm not surprised. While the government records a budget surplus and unemployment figures has a 5 in front of it, the Reserve Bank of Australia continues to cut rates to record lows. Now, we'll just jump back here. We'll jump back here and we'll look at trading economics. And I mean, these are all the figures here of Australia, but I want to look at something a bit different. I will just open this in a new tab. Let's have a look at the iron ore price, because if you're not aware, that is going to have a big impact on the Australian government's budget surplus. And we look down here, iron ore, whoa, $91. Okay. And this is, we'll look at the historical data. So you can see here, this is $91. Okay. December is around 60, it shot up, it's fallen back down due to Brazilian capacity coming back online. Australia is the #1 exporter of iron ore, by the way. We're the #1 exporter in the world. Brazil's #2. And they had a dam issue earlier in the year. So what happened? Boom, prices climbed. But now that they're back supplying, prices have corrected. But the issue is the Australian budget, for every $10 above 50, which is what they planned for, and we'll go up to $5. You can see here, $50 a ton. So, that was quite conservative. It increases the spending capacity of the government and helps push our government's budget into surplus. So has that got anything to do with the planning of the government? Perhaps it was good that they assumed a sensible figure to base figures off, but it probably allows them to take advantage of these situations. So a lot of it's luck. Let's look at max. Let's look at max. So here we go, 2010, 12. This is when we started working in a lot of the resource sector, a lot of the mining. So the cost of iron ore and the cost of coal was quite high. So these companies can make a lot of money. And even here, they're still making, the miners in Australia are still making good money. My understanding is I think it's $15 US a ton to pull it out of the ground. So that just puts that into perspective, guys, when they're talking about, government surplus and, unemployment as well. You've got to look at some Roy Morgan statistics to compare them, because the way the ABS measures our unemployment rate, I don't agree with it. I think it's a little bit too generous. I think Roy Morgan's a bit more savage and realistic. I mean, 1 hour a week, or 1 hour within the period, it's not enough. The indicators of Australia's economy are reasonably good, yet we have interest rates which are near emergency levels. Well, yes. Well, aren't they emergency levels? Weren't 4% or 3% meant to be emergency levels? And the markets are responding to that. But here's the rub. This performance is still in abnormal conditions. I don't know how long abnormal conditions can last. Well, that's the question. How long can they keep pushing the cart? How long can they keep doing it? Because here's the thing. You can be going, the market's acting irrationally. And you can be right. But that doesn't mean the market won't act irrationally. You remember, these are human players affected by psychology, persuasion, the media, and what they're hearing. And if they're doing the wrong thing, but it's still making them money, is it the wrong thing? It's a question for everyone to think about. Conditions will revert to normal, the kind of conditions we've seen over the last century or so, and then there will be adjustments. So I well, I think I definitely agree with Costello and his take here. I think it really is abnormal conditions, and that is just a strange environment that we're in at the moment. I suspect because I'm talking about the construction industry, and I'm involved in the construction industry as an architect, I'm getting a different perspective to some people out there. And it's to do with your flow on when you start feeling it. When you start feeling it in the economy. That's why I need to pull my finger out and try and organize a architecture's version of a PMI, purchasing managers, maybe a design managers index. There we go, a design managers index. That's a good idea. But guys, I've done a few other videos that you may want to look at. I will also, I'll share this one about is Australian depression and 5 ways to prepare for Australia's recession. Check that one out and let me know for my 5 suggestions. There's even a bonus one at the end. So guys, thank you all very much for joining me for this episode of Heise Says. Like, share, subscribe, spread the word. Appreciate it. And I will talk to you all later today. Take care. Bye for now.